So my name is Sean. My background is that I'm a mental health first aid instructor trainer for MHFA England. I also specialise in suicide prevention and awareness. Also a mindfulness practitioner with the British Mindfulness Institute and a coach accredited by the Institute of Leadership and Management. And before that, I did 20 years in corporate. So there's a real mixture of stuff that we've got for you today. My corporate career, last 10 years, I was in the banks. I was a corporate banker, associate director for HBOS HSBC, trained by some of the best in the world. So I've kind of brought some of their training along for us today. So what we're looking at is innovative problem solving. Some of the stuff you've probably heard of, some of the stuff hopefully you won't have heard of, or it might be a refresher, or it might be a different way to do things, or a different twist on the same thing. So we have the chat, so please do feel free to use the chat. I will be monitoring that, so I'll see if anybody wants to say anything. I will be asking you questions. I'm going to make this as interactive a session as I possibly can. So I've got a video for you and some interactive stuff, but what we'll do is we'll get going by sharing my slide deck with you. So welcome to Innovative Problem Solving. There we go. So we've got a quick question there. It says chat disabled. Right, okay. It says chat disabled. So if you can put anything that you want into the Q&A then, because I believe both channels will be open, but we've got the Q&A, which is good enough, so that's great. So anything that you need to know, any question that you have, please just put it into the Q&A and I will monitor that as we go along as well. So here we go. Welcome to Innovative Problem Solving. What I'd like to know is, let's just test this out just quickly to make sure that it works. On the Q&A, what I'm interested in is what are the barriers to problem solving? What gets in the way of us solving problems? What are the common problems that we have? What are the things that we face a lot of the time? So do feel free just to put some answers. There we go. Thank you, Alex. People, yeah, and ain't that the truth, Alex? Cost, here we go. So we get the start of variables coming in. Willingness to change. We've always done it this way. That's, oh, Sarah, oh my goodness, how many times have we heard that? Unfortunately, I think that's what the dinosaurs said back in the day, and they didn't change anything, and they're not about at the moment. So the only thing about problems and problem solving and change is that motivation. Do other people see a reason for change? Because that's one of our, this goes into so many different places, and certainly motivation to change, motivation to solve a problem. Other people might not see a problem. So yeah, pointing it out in whatever way you can. Resources available, lack of resources, lack of perfect knowledge. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Lack of knowledge, lack of perfect knowledge. I'm always in communication and linguistics. I'm always aware of when perfection rears its head, because my aim is not perfection. My aim, and it used to be, but now my aim is progression. It is not perfection, because I have never reached perfection. I don't know if anybody else has. Can you tell me how to do it, please? Just put something onto the Q&A, and I'll be very, very grateful. Not upsetting people. So we've got this people element. So there's the feelings and emotions. So it's not just thoughts, it's not just strategy, it's not just techniques. Now we get politics, we get people involved, and of course that cost always there. Yeah, people's perspectives. Andrea, that's a really good, that's a really incisive comment, because that's exactly where we're going to start with perception. Because like we said before, some people might not see this as a problem. Other people might see it as too big a problem to even think about fixing, and so they won't get started because we have a fear of change, which was mentioned before as well. Not enough information. See the question, that's a brilliant one. Get it completely. The question I always throw back at that, and I have to throw back at myself, so it's a self challenge as much as a challenge back to everybody here. When do you have enough information? You can never have too much data. Maybe there's a minimum amount, maybe there is a minimum amount, but a lot of the time, don't wait until you've got enough, because we very rarely get enough. Fear of making a mistake, that's the one, Ian. That is absolutely it. Lack of ownership of a problem, understanding what the problem is, exactly. And that's my next question. So whilst I'm just quickly going to the last ones, I want you to think about what a problem is. I'll give you the one of the definitions of a problem in a second. Lack of support, frightened to suggest change. So there we might have hierarchical things that come into perspective. We might have personality traits that might come into perspective, into use there as well. Is it right that I cannot see anyone's Q&A? John, that's a very, very good question. I don't know. I will see. That's correct. Yes, it is correct. Thank you very much. Okay, so yes, John, you can only see your answers, but I will relay any and all answers back. So what is a problem? What is a problem? Just give me some ideas. What do you face? What problems do you face on a normal everyday basis? Now, confidentiality happens here unless I say it out loud, obviously. So if you want to say something, say it, but just put confidential and I won't read it out, or put something so that I can read it out to public. So let's see what we all think. What are some of the problems that we face? Budget, projects, time management, people management, behavioral change, stringent deadlines, reaching consensus. Absolutely. Absolutely. Aging profession and a lack of profile for the profession. That is a very specific and interesting problem. Michelle, thank you. Sarah, developing effective corrective action for non-conformances. Yeah, and that's, whilst that's a problem, that's also, see, this is the thing, whatever is a problem can also be termed as an opportunity, and that's direct. All of these that I'm reading out, they can be turned into an opportunity if we work through it, and that's one of the great motivations for actually tackling problems. So developing effective corrective action for non-conformances for one person could result in just a template being set for a team that can be personalized to each individual person, but at least you've got a template or a strategy, which is what we've got for you today when it comes to the general ways of looking at resolving problems, resolving faults, unprofessional behavior. So we're into the personal side of it. Yeah, okay. Understanding what the problem that others reporting is. Yeah, because communication, gosh, in this 11 years of this new life and 20 years in corporate, in 11 years of new life, I've come to understand that miscommunication is far easier than communication. Miscommunication occurs much more than communication does. I don't know about anybody else and what you believe, but that seems to be the truth for me. Getting young committee members. Andrea, I think that's essential. I think you're absolutely spot on. All generations are different, and you know, I'm in my 50s, and so having some much younger people will absolutely give us some significantly different perspectives on life, which we're going to move into in a second. Personal development, not knowing where to go next, how to go about it. That's the big one, isn't it? You know, not knowing where or how, and that's lack of information, lack of direction. I experienced that in corporate. I was hired by one director, then he got promoted, and then the other director just left me alone for a year. So I spent a year asking people for help, and everybody saying, we don't know what you want, Sean, or what to do, until somebody else came along and actually took hold of the situation. But I spent a year in development hell and just doing what I thought I was doing right, but not knowing. People reinventing the wheel. Oh, Alex, welcome to life. Absolutely. Yeah, so right. Yes. Don't people love to reinvent that wheel? Lack of good role models, working in isolation. So yeah, hybrid, working in isolation, remote work. Most of the key performance indicators go the right way when it comes to hybrid, and this is a huge problem globally for us, because in the UK, there's a survey I was looking at pre-COVID said that 90% of UK workers would give up a percentage of their salary in order to access hybrid or remote working. And then, of course, we were thrust into it. And that's the problem. The problem is with the new hybrid, the new remote working, is that we were thrust into it And it wasn't done on a project management basis where we'd have 6 months, a year, 2 years even to implement it properly. We just had to do it. And so we've been given the problem. Here's your homework, and you sort it out. You sort your work-life balance out. You sort your separation from work and home when your commute is just through that door. So this is one of the biggest problems in modern life, and people are still going through it. So it's a really interesting problem that we have there. Let's just have a quick look, and then we'll move on. Just my perception is that recent graduates don't understand how to analyze problems and then suggest possible solutions. Very interesting. So this is not right or wrong. It could be right, it could be wrong, but it's a person's perspective, it's a person's view. Therefore, it's correct for that person in the situation they're in. So if you disagree with that, then we disagree with the view. We don't disagree with the person. And this is one of the ways that we can engage conflict resolution, because that might sound wrong to some people and make us feel, oh, that's terrible. How can he possibly say that? But actually, it could be absolutely correct. We don't know because when we don't have that person's perspective. So we don't use judgment on people. One of the ways to take emotion out of a problem is to go to the view that there's a viewpoint that we can disagree with, but we're not going to disagree or judge the person for having that viewpoint. Think about your friends and think about how their political beliefs. This is the easiest thing to bring to the fore. I'm sure not all of your friends have the same political beliefs as you, and yet you still manage to be friends. So we can do exactly the same thing with colleagues. We find a way through, we solve the problems, we engage that difference. Now, perception that recent graduates, it's an interesting one. That might be the case. That might be the case. It might be a specific case from a particular area in the country or the world. It might be a particular year. It might be a particular intake. It might be a particular role. For example, in the clothing supply industry, and I know I'm going to a random place, but this is a very relevant problem that's very prevalent, certainly in the UK, and it's the skills gap. So there is a massive skills gap, and it's growing in the UK. One of the sectors is fashion. And I've been doing some work in fashion lately, so I've got to know a wee bit about the fashion world. And what we are missing are lots of people to do the sewing, seamstresses, male, female seamstresses, which requires certain sets of skills. And just lately, we've had some fantastic people in that industry actually start new social enterprises to help people develop those skills, and they've been quite successful. We're still hundreds, tens of thousands, 100,000, 200,000 people behind what we need. However, these people are starting to address that problem. If we don't address it, think about that problem for the future. If we lose that, then manufacturing production absolutely disappears from the UK, as it has done, as it is doing. So to bring it back, we need people skilled in that particular skill. So that's what they are doing. Unfortunately, the real problem, and this is the thing with problems, this is where I'm going to end and we're going to move on. The trouble with problems is, are you aware? Are you tackling the real problem? Because the problem that people look at with the skills gap is that we don't have enough people skilled in this skill. So we'll put funding, we'll get more people drawn to it. We'll get more people, students to learn this skill, older people like me, modern apprenticeships. We'll do all sorts of programs, T-levels, we'll do all sorts of qualifications. Now, you think that might solve the problem, and on the face of it, it may do, because the numbers may go up. However, what is happening, and this is the specific problem for the seamstress role within the fashion industry. This is the real problem. It's not that there aren't any seamstresses and there aren't those skills. The real problem is we're getting people starting, we're getting people signing up to the course. They are developing those skills. They are completing the courses. They are coming out ready to start work. However, The vast majority of people doing that course are doing it as part of a larger career where they want to become a designer. So they don't want to be a seamstress. They want that as a skill, which is one of the skills contained within design. So they want to become a fashion designer. So on the face of it, we think we've solved the problem. We get the numbers through. But actually, when it comes to industry, we lose those people to fashion design and we have 0 seamstresses. So we're back with the same problem. So the real problem is exactly what you've been saying there. Prioritization, motivation, getting people to see value in what they do, helping people see a future, what it could look like, engaging them, making them feel that this is that they belong, that they have empowerment, ownership, and accountability. 3 very important words in order for them to stick in the industry that we need them to stick in. So let's carry on then. Let's carry on and go into first. I'm going to test you now. I'm going to test everybody. So let me just check. Yeah, okay, fine. So a problem and the way to solve the problem might be quite simple for some people. And this is a flow chart of how to make a breakfast. So for some people, the way that they see problems, it's quite simple, it's quite easy. And we can look at things and we can think, yeah, I can do that, I can do that. Yeah, not a problem. Then I'll just grill this, fry that, make this, butter that, and then I'm done in about 10 minutes. Yeah, no problem. But for other people seeing the same problem, such as making breakfast, and I don't have breakfast, so no, this is not me at all. But for other people, they might want to go into it in a lot more detail. So that simple flowchart suddenly becomes this healthier breakfast flowchart. And don't worry, I don't want you to look at every single word on this. It's just a representation to show you the difference between 2 problem-solving techniques. Same technique, same solving, same positive output, however, completely different way of using the technique. So we start with process flowcharts. Let me just have a read of this. Okay, could it be that graduates approaching the problem in a way that we fossils do not understand? Very good, John. In my experience, if left alone, the results in problem solving can be radical. John, I agree. I absolutely agree. And Sue, I agree as well. It's one of those. I don't have the detail. I don't know. Sue's perception is correct. It's her perception, therefore it's correct. John, your perception also is correct. My belief is we absolutely need to engage every single age that we have, profile, identity, because the diversity of our organization is our real strength. So let's move on. Here we go. I've got a problem for you. I've got a problem. I'm going to want you to go back onto the Q&A in a second. What we're going to do is I'm going to work on your mindset just right now. It's only going to take you 2 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change your mindset within 2 minutes. So first of all, this is how we all work. We all work on a pattern recognition model. So we make a prediction of what's going to happen. So we work on this perception. So when faced with a situation, in this case, a problem, we make a prediction. Even if you don't know it, unconsciously, your brain is making a prediction on what is going to happen. Therefore, it's altering your perception of what is actually happening potentially. But what it does then is it influences your thoughts, which influence your feelings, which create your actions. So that's what happens. It's thoughts, feelings, actions. That's the process that the brain uses to make us do things. That results in outcomes, and the outcomes usually are the same as we've always got. Therefore, our outcomes are always pretty much the same. And this goes back to the old saying, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So it's a very old saying. And as far as I've seen in my 50 odd years on this planet, absolutely correct. Alex has just said, not all perceptions are correct. And isn't that the nature of perception? Because perception is correct for one person and potentially one person only. Another person could see the same thing. If you were all looking out of my window now, and I asked you to name one thing, 5% of you would say the same thing, 95% of you would say something completely different. We all have a unique way of seeing the world, and we're going to see this right now. So what I'd like you to do is get on that Q&A, and a picture is going to appear in the top of the screen. All I want you to do, as quick as you can, is type in what you see. Just tell me what you see. So this is say what you see time. Immediately. Don't think, just do it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Q&A. Go. Quick. Type it in as fast as you. Oh my gosh, you guys are so quick. Fabulous. Oh, you've all got it right. Elephant. Okay. Cheers. Well done. Congratulations. Oh, nice cup of tea just to start with. Elephant. Oh, there we go. Somebody's just spotted something. Hang on. Elephant with strange legs, too many feet. There we go. So if you haven't seen it, you probably will have by now. But yeah, everybody's starting to put 5 legs, too many legs. Thank you. But my guess is that right at the start, when I got you to go into reactive mode, all you saw was elephant. And why I take a drink of tea at that time is just to give you a few seconds for your brain to go, hang on, there's something not quite right here. And this is your perception, your view of the world kicking in. So let's carry on. 5 legs, absolutely. Here we go. So what words would you use to describe these lines quickly? What words would you use to describe the lines? Crooked, blurry, jagged, uneven, stripy, uneven. Chess. Oh, Alex, you are so clever. You are so clever. Parallel, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come to this in a second. It's Andrea, straight, optical illusion. Yeah, zigzag, black and white. Yes, Pierre. Yes, absolutely correct. Chess, wonky, perfect. Okay, so as a couple of people have put, if you have a straight line to hand, and if you put it up against the lines, you will see that they are straight, horizontal, and parallel, although they look like Donkey Kong. It's weird, isn't it? It is an optical illusion. And even now I've said that, you can't change your perception. You can't make your brain see straight lines. It's phenomenal. It's so powerful. So let's keep going. The next thing, what happens now? What's happening? What can you see? What's happening? Rotating. Thank you, Fraser. Yeah, good. Sarah's seeing it as well. Sue's seeing it. Okay. Apparent, Gerard. Apparent rotation. Absolutely. Of course. They appear. Fractals. Yes. Cogs are turning. Look beyond and it moves. Yes. Cog spirals. This is it. So if you don't perceive movement, don't worry. There's nothing wrong with you. It's perfectly normal. 80% of people will perceive movement. 20% of people will not perceive movement. Just a different way that our perception works. So most people will perceive, as I'm seeing here, will perceive movement. Snakes. Oh, Francis has seen snakes. Yeah, I never saw this until about 12 months after I started using it. And somebody said, snakes. And I thought, what? What? Where are snakes? But if you can see, you can just see the flicking tongue. So I hope there's no one with phobias of snakes on here. I do apologize. Might depend on the display, looks stationary to me. John, absolutely. However, 80%, John, of the people on here today, I guarantee you, as I've seen, people will perceive a rotation, a movement, especially if you look to the side or flick your eye about or look beyond, we see movement. But you might not, and 20% of people here will not. And that's just a difference in perception. Our brains do work differently. It seems that it is one tongue moving. Oh, wow. You've just absolutely freaked me out, Pierre. One tongue moving. Oh my goodness. Right, okay. So what I've been doing is I've been working on your perception, your model of the world. I said I'd change it within about 2 minutes. It's been 2 minutes. Now I'm going to use what we call clean language. I'm not going to influence you in any way. I'm just going to go back to what I said before. Last picture, say what you see as fast as you can. Good. Yeah, Francis, excellent. Good, okay. Right, so I didn't influence you in any way, and that was really important. So what we did was, if I'd have swapped around the elephant for the 2 old people for the first and last picture, then you would have probably just seen 2 old people, or the goblet, or the candelabra vase that's right in the middle of the 2 faces, which is usually negative space. This space here, we are not attuned to spotting anything because it's usually negative space. Therefore, our brain's perception is, don't bother looking at that, there's nothing important. So we don't usually see something, but here you can see there's a vase, goblet, chalice, candelabra. So what happened there was you've developed your perception of me, of our interaction. You've changed from just seeing an elephant, which is your perception, your way of seeing the world, which is the same as everybody else, which is at the start, your brain just sees elephant and that's it. And elephants are going to come back. There's a theme through this presentation. So we're going to talk about elephants afterwards as well. But now what's happened is, because you've opened up your mind and said, right, Sean is giving us different models, different patterns and things to see, I need to look beyond. So what you've done is you've dived under the surface and you've solved the whole problem by creating a new perception of the world for yourself. So this is where we get, instead of 20% of people seeing the same thing, 80% of people see the same thing, and they see the two older people, they see the guitar player, they see the person with the pot on their head, they see the person in the ear. So it's not really an ear, it's a person coming out of the ear. And we see the goblet or the chalice, vase, candelabra, or many other things that people call it. Fascinating, isn't it? Absolutely incredible how it's just that we don't trust you anymore. Thank you, Alex. I run that risk. I do run that risk. You're absolutely right. Right, let's carry on because this, oh my gosh, got so much to talk about. Right, here we go. Identification of a problem. Little story, I've got a few stories for you, and this is just a small one. So where does this problem solving come from? How does it help the world? Why should we do this? Well, if we identify potential problems, and I'm coaching a couple of people for a government organization at the minute, and one of them is a project manager, and she's got a really fantastic way of looking at the world, and she's been given a free rein to have a look in their department and to come up with whatever project she wants. So basically, they've said to her, fix us. And she's just going to go, okay. And she's going to look around, and so now she's got to literally step outside of her perception of the world and create this big global perspective of what is happening, and look not just from high level, but from the global level, to start identifying what could be seen as a problem, not just to her, but to anybody else in the department. Then she's being given carte blanche to come up with as many different, of course, as oversight, but she's being given absolute carte blanche to say, right, what projects do you want to start? How long will they take? Scope them out. What will they mean? Outcomes, etc., etc., etc. So this happens all the times, and it happened back in Hungary, back in the early days of these things. So before these things were about, we had feather quills, and we had two brothers, Ladislav and Georgi, and they were proofreaders. So they had a massive problem, because when they were proofreading people's scripts and things, they had a quill pen, and unfortunately, we solved the problem of keeping the ink in a reservoir of some kind by using feather quills. So we could do that, and we could transfer it to the paper by cutting the quill into a sharp point. But it still blotted, it still blobbed onto the paper. So they lost so much time when they were proofreading to blotting the blobs of ink and then getting back to their job. So eventually they stopped, they paused in life, and they said, there must be a better way to do this. We have a problem. What can we do? And the way they came up with it was obviously looking at a transport system to get the ink from the reservoir, which they'd already solved, had already been solved by other people, by getting the ink to the paper, but in a uniform fashion. And of course, they tried different methods, but the one method that works is if we put a sphere, a ball, in the top of this point of the pen, then it becomes what we call a ballpoint pen, which is what they are. We refer to them a lot as biros. They're not biros. Biro is a brand. They're pens. They're ballpoint pens, to be specific. And Ladislav and Georgi, solved this problem. And they created the world's first ballpoint pens. And that's why we call them biros, because their family name was Biro. So not just a brand name, but also a family name. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of other everyday objects that have resulted from problems. So just put whatever, any ideas that you have, what things in everyday life have resulted from solving a problem. These are two that I found on Amazon. Can't believe this, but these are two things. You can buy anything on Amazon. Oh my goodness, if you look, you can buy anything. So obviously one person has real problems in getting the drops into their eyes. So you've got the perfect eyedropper glasses on the right hand side that you can buy from Amazon. And somebody came up with a fantastic idea of making a cushion, a saddle seat for the smaller children to sit on shoulders. So it takes the weight and distributes it evenly across the shoulders, so it's healthier and more comfortable for the parent, and it's more comfortable for the child as well. What a great idea. Velcro, indeed, absolutely, Velcro. Yeah, that's quite a modern thing, isn't it? That's quite, it's really old. If you research Velcro, I can't remember. I used to know how old it was, but that's a really, really old one. Super glue. Thank you, Giuseppe. Yes, super glue. Yeah, that's a big one. Tetra Pak, movable type, Gutenberg, not a printing press at all. Oh, Andrea. Yeah, remarkable. Thank you very much. The mobile phone. Wow, remember the iterations of the mobile phone? I'm definitely old enough to remember the days before the mobile phone. Then I remember pages. We had pages. Then, oh my gosh, we had faxes. I mean, we were cutting edge when we had a fax. Oh, that was amazing. That was incredible. And then we had those mobile phones, which were about that big, like bricks. The batteries were as big as a Tesla battery. And then, of course, now we've got these. Well, this is a pretty big phone. I get the big one for the nice big screen. But yeah, have you seen the new Samsung Flip ones? They're small. They're only about that big now. Zips, yes. Famous one of developing a ballpoint to work in space, Derek. Yes, NASA spent millions. Russia used a pencil. Love it, love it. Sticky notes. Yeah, sticky notes. Yeah, that's a cracker. Yeah, it's famous. I think that's a part of a film, isn't it, where somebody pretends to have invented the sticky note. Some comedy that I remember seeing. The pen, clocks, pencil, syringes, SMS text messages, a solution looking for a problem. SMS text messages, a solution looking for a problem. Very good. The laser, absolutely. Light amplification. Hoover, yeah. And of course, there again, a Hoover. Well, Hoover is a brand name. It's actually a vacuum cleaner, and this is the power. This is the power of invention. This is the power of problem solving. When you let me just get to the bottom. Head torch, yeah, good one. Wheels, superconductivity, first demonstrated in 1910. Really, John? Interesting. Thank you for that. Roads, indeed, yes, yeah. In the UK, we still have a lot of Roman roads, and in fact, a place I swim at in Wales is underneath an old Roman bridge, which is just not used, obviously, because it's very unsafe. But it's there's a road not far from there. But that's, yeah, roads. But it's the old Monty Python thing, isn't it? What did the Romans ever do for us? Well, yeah, actually, quite a lot. Microwave oven from World War II radar research. Is that right, Gerard? Are you pulling my leg, or is that correct? Because that sounds fascinating. I love that. That's incredible. Driverless vehicles. Oh, now we're coming up to date. Yes, paper, bridges. Right, perfect. Okay, so Hoover. So back to what Andrea was saying, Hoover. And this is the power of solving problems. Sometimes you solve problems, and sometimes we give birth to a technique or a strategy or a way of doing things. For example, hoovering. We don't hoover for anybody, any country or culture that uses this term. We don't hoover. We vacuum clean. Hoover is a brand. It just became so successful that everybody started to refer to it as hoovering. So just put onto the, I'm going to ask you now. Gerard, thank you very much. That makes sense. Thank you for that. Perfect. Birmingham University. Wow. Cool. You've taken me away there now. Hoovering. So Tell me how you search for something on the internet. What's that called? Searching for something on the internet. What do we call that? That's exactly what we do. Yeah, browsing for keywords, using search engines, but most people are putting, we Google it. We Google it. And Google, of course, is a company. It's not a thing. It's not an action. It's not a verb. But we use it as a verb. How do you sell something on the internet? How do you sell some of your stuff on the internet? Yeah, Googling now that Ask Jeeves has disappeared. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Ask Jeeves. We eBay it, exactly. We put it on eBay. We eBay it, eBaying. Exactly. Do you see how it works? So this is the power of problem solving. These guys, eBay, Google, Ask Jeeves, they were all solving problems. And Google just had that path to further solving of problems, which is why they're still about and Ask Jeeves aren't. So, this is the thing about iterations. This is the thing about constant improvement. This goes back to what we talked about at the start. And one of the challenges, if we stand still, we're not actually standing still. We are moving backwards. There are a few truths with change. Change is permanent. The pace of change is ever increasing. So if people don't want to make a decision, if people don't want to change, they are literally going to be left behind. It's going to be painful. Change is always painful. Change always brings two things, pain and opportunities. COVID-19 was change. It was about 20 to 30 years worth of change in about 2 to 3 years. So boy, was that painful. I lost two cousins. So, I know how painful it can be. However, there are lots of amazing things that have come out. Hybrid, remote have absolutely come out of COVID. So the world is now at a more advanced place for the potential for happiness in the workplace, because the workplace is now in the home as well. Welcome to my home. So we've been moved forward. Some of us are catching up. Some of us will take a long time to catch up. Some of us want help. Some of us need help. Some of us don't think we need it. Some of us are asking for it. There's all sorts of different ways. Vinted, yes, there's always another, and there's always other iterations. Michelle has just said, instead of eBaying it, we vint it. And there are other sites, other ways of doing things. But the vast majority of people will eBay it. So yeah, I get that. Fabulous. Okay, let's keep moving forward. Right, I've got my first video for you. And then we'll move into techniques of problem solving. Just to give you what we've been going for. We'll have this video, we'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll move into the techniques and strategies, and then we'll finish about 5 to 10 to 11 to give you some time for Q&A if you've got any at the end. So this is the workplace thinking style. If you want to have a look at this and do some homework for yourself, you can find these studies freely available if you Google it or search for it on Ask Jeeves or anywhere else if they exist. And this is, if you put in Boncheck and Steele, thinking style, you will find lots of their research online. So what I'm going to do is give you an idea of what this is about. We're not going to explore it too much because we just don't have the time. But when we talk about solving problems or problem solving strategy and innovation, it's not enough to look at the problem itself. We have to move outside. So we're at high level. Let's think about you, the person right now. We've gone from perception. Now we're going real micro, macro into you and your style. So I'm going to play this video. Just if you can put a quick yes on the Q&A to let me know that you can hear the audio okay, please.
Maybe you always butt heads with a certain coworker, or find that you're constantly having to repeat yourself with your boss. The issue could be different thinking styles. Consultant Mark Boncheck and CEO Elisa Steele suggest analyzing how you think according to 2 dimensions. First, focus refers to the factors that you tend to pay most attention to: ideas, process, action, or relationships. Next, orientation refers to the scale at which you approach a situation. Do you like lots of details or the big picture? By combining these two dimensions, you can begin to see the thinking styles that affect the way you work. Explorers are all about generating creative ideas, while experts are about achieving objectivity and insight. Planners design effective systems, while optimizers focus on productivity and efficiency. Energizers like to mobilize people into action, while producers prefer to achieve completion and momentum themselves. Connectors think about building and strengthening relationships and networks, while coaches prefer to work one-on-one and cultivate individual potential. Once you understand what style feels more natural to you, it will get easier to see people's strengths and weaknesses, including your own. By mapping your team's thinking styles, you can also see where communication breaks down and how team members complement each other.
Okay, so that gives you an idea, and I'm just going to quickly go back to finish this off. Whilst they were talking, just a very short video. It's a great little explainer, and hopefully it's got your creative juices going just to think, oh, hang on a second, what am I? You've probably, when looking at that, you've probably got an idea of what you may be. And if it does make you think, then please do go on and just search for Boncheck and Steele thinking style. It's a really interesting theory. And you can also do the profiling online as well. So it's really, really interesting. It certainly helps. It helps solidify my idea of who I am, my view of the world, my perception. But what it also does is it helps me see my place in the team. It helps me see my place in the organization. And it also helps me understand other people when we do hit barriers, when the barrier is some form of personal barrier, or maybe political barrier, something to do with that, then it can work in so many different ways. So that's just something hopefully of interest. Maybe planners should think about detail more. Maybe they should. I see me in more than one type in each section. Yeah, Andrea, and everybody else, you will. I do. And when you go in the profile, it's kind of like, I think Myers-Briggs, Belbin, those sorts of profiles I think are really good because they give us a good indication. Nothing is ever 100%. It's always about giving indicators. And of course, your styles can change throughout life. But right now, at this moment in time, if you run this for yourself, it'll give you an idea of your preferred thinking style or another thinking style that you are close to. And it may show you that you can change from one to the other depending on what it is that you're doing. So it just gives you more self-awareness. And that's the idea. That's the idea in life. Progression is self-awareness. That's where it starts. That's where it finishes. Everything else is how we do stuff. But it's all about your self-awareness. So thank you very much. I hope this has whetted your appetite for the next bit, where we'll have 5 minutes now. We'll come back at 21 minutes past. So 5 minutes break. So I will put my mute on and camera off, and I'll see you in 5 minutes. Very quick break, and I'll see you in 5. Thank you. There we go. Right. Thank you very much for bearing with me. Just thought it might be good in these sessions just to give you a quick 5-minute break. So let's get going again. Oh, hang on a second. Let's have a look, Shahid. Just up the test. Your natural thinking style is analyzing. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And Shahid, can you just let me know what you think about that answer? Does that reflect you? And this is not. This is being non-judgmental and not making the answer fit what we think. Does that really sound like you? Just let me know on the Q&A. That would be great. Thanks. And we'll move on at the same time. So welcome back. Here we go. Creative thinking. So just thought I'd finish off with some exercises and some strategies and techniques, most of which I'm sure you'll be aware of. It's very rare that we can bring anything brand new. There might be one thing at the end that you haven't come across possibly, which I've got a short video explaining for you just to end on. But where we're going to start is just with a little bit of fun here. So there are 9 dots on the page. There are 9 dots on the page. The trick here is to write this on your page, put this on your page, and then use a pen or a pencil to join all the dots with 3 lines, and your pen must not leave the page. 3 straight lines, and your pen must not leave the page. So I'll just give you a quick minute whilst I draw the solution out. And you can tell me on the chat, on the Q&A rather, whether you've done it or not. And like so many things, we overthink things so much when actually the solution is actually quite simple. Okay, just a few seconds. My terrible art is going to have to be a little bit open to interpretation, but I think we'll do it. There you go. Woo, there you go. Oh, right. Did anybody get the solution? Did anybody get the solution? No display. Is there a problem in connection? I see. I folded the paper over. Can I just check? Can everybody see the PowerPoint? Can everyone see the slide deck? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, fine. Right. Folded the paper. Sarah, that's brilliant. I folded the paper over. That's not my solution, but it's a potential solution. I love that. Gosh. Pierre's got one. Excellent. Derek's got one. Yeah, it's almost the Z. The Z won't work because you missed the 2 dots out in the middle, on the left and the right. Fraser's just gone, nope, ain't got it, Sean, ain't got it. Gosh, loads of people. Yes, can see it, no to solution. Thank you very much, thank you. Right, so folding, I think, is an incredibly clever way. So if you're only good at origami, then you may have got the answer. And here is the answer. So you can see that you've got 9 dots, 9 dots on the page here. And then I've got to reverse my actions. So taking the line, so it goes all the way up and down, and then whoops, the other way, and then all the way down. 3 lines connected, all straight, and they hit every dot on there. But why do we not see that? Why do we not see that? This exercise is the literal thinking outside the box exercise, because this is, as much as we've been talking about perception, as much as we've been talking about our view of the world, we are still so heavily conditioned that when we are, yeah, because they're not straight lines. Oh, Alex, if I drew it correctly, they would be. Trust me, it works. Do it yourself and you'll see. But you have to do a little bit better drawing than me. Looking too closely, Kevin, absolutely. Yeah, because that's the thing with the problem. With the problem, most people just go boom right into the problem and are looking at it at ground level instead of easing back to a certain level, then easing back more, and then of course looking at these different levels, and we see different things. This is the literal thinking outside the box. Here, if I give you 9 dots, you see a box of 9 dots. That's what we all do. Most of us. Most of us will see a box where there is no box. So we try to come up with, so the Z, as much as, you know, Z, so if you did a Z, it'll be along the top, it'll be through the middle, and then it'll be down there. So you'd hit most of the dots, but you wouldn't hit that one, and then you wouldn't hit that one. Even if you reversed it, it would be the same. Yeah, that way. So you'd still have that dot and that dot missing. So this is the literal thinking about, yeah, thought I was zoomed out, but not zoomed out enough. And it's brilliant to get have that perspective on things, because it won't work unless you draw to infinity, or the dots are discs. They are discs. It depends what size the dots are. But here you could, where's my ruler? On here, if the dots are big enough, you can just alter it a little bit. And as long as you've got an angle, it will work, trust me. You can always Google it, of course. So that's one thing. I'm going to give you another problem now. Here's a good fun one. A man pushes his car until he reaches a hotel. When he arrives at the hotel, he realizes that he's bankrupt. What's happened, everybody? What's happened? Why did our man realize he was bankrupt when he parked his car outside the hotel? He has nothing to show for it. Ian, absolutely right. Why would he realize he's bankrupt when his car is outside a hotel after pushing it? He lost his wallet, Peter. He's broke. He is indeed. He is indeed. And the answer, as Ian has said, is because he's outside the hotel and one of the other players on the Monopoly board owns the hotel. And now the chap has to mortgage all of his properties and he still can't pay. He still can't pay because, as Stephen's just said, they're playing Monopoly. Of course, that's it. So that's the solution to that. Oh, it's just shocking one, that, isn't it? Lateral thinking exercise. Here we go. So here's another one just to finish off this bit. There's a man in a 4-story building. He jumps out of the window and is unharmed. He used no hat padding and had no harm done. How did this happen? How did this happen? Oh, you're getting too clever now. Ah, yeah, you're definitely getting too clever. Yeah. Oh, you're all getting it too. Yeah. Jump to a tree. That's a brilliant thinking. Love that. Model house. Oh, that's good, John. Oh, that's a good one. That's real opening up of the mind stuff. Love that. But as most people are saying, he landed on a trampoline. Francis, brilliant. Love that. So, as most people are saying, Derek, the man sat on the 4th floor. His feet reached the ground. Longfellow. So yes, yeah, but it's shocking. That's as bad as one of mine. That's cracking. Right, he is on the ground floor. Of course he is. He is on level 0. He was a different story. He's on level 0. We presume normally in everyday life we put the box in place and we presume that he's on, because it's a 4-story building. He lives in the 4th story. He doesn't. He lives on the ground floor. So therefore, he just jumps out of his window onto the ground. So yes. Not a problem. We're all okay. But again, see how perception interferes still? These are famous lateral thinking puzzles. And the more lateral thinking puzzles that you do, the more it encourages your neural network to build pathways to think laterally. It's just like anything. Building a habit is just destroying and creating new neural pathways. So we can all do it. It's just a question of consistency. So here we're coming to my story. Another way to think about, another couple of ways. We have mind mapping, which was famously forwarded massively by the chap Tony Buzan. Tony Buzan, a great thinker, a fantastic thinker. Lots of great TED Talks, YouTube videos about him, of him. And mind mapping is very useful for creative thinking, because we start off with a centralized subject, and then it can lead to sub-subjects, subheadings, which can lead to different, even more second, third level thought levels as well. So I find mind mapping one of the most useful for me and my thinking style. I find it incredibly useful. When was the last time you tried mind mapping? And that's the thing about today. The things that we're going to talk about, just go, give them a go, try them, see what works, see what doesn't work, see what could work. And the whole point of today, do something different or do something differently. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So let's do something different today. And then we have the old thought shower over here, which has an easy little point of access. It's got a way, it's a good way of thinking, of opening up our thinking. And here you can see my little theme of elephants again. So elephants comes back into this. I'm going to give you a very short story about when I was in one of my banks. So I used to work for Lloyd's, and when I worked for Lloyd's, we had this really young, up and coming professional director. He was a lovely guy, absolutely fantastic guy. I think he's in Australia. He's been in Australia. He lives in Australia now. Has been for the last 20 odd years, 15, 20 years. Great guy, but he thought really differently, and he sat us down. He got us all in one day, and he'd sent a brief to us, and he said, right, we need to come up as a team. We need to come up with new financial products. We need to think of new ways that we can differentiate ourselves from the competition, because we don't want to be seen as a staid, boring old bank. We want to be seen as dynamic. We want to deliver more value to our customers. We want to get more profit. We want to deepen our relationship with our customers. So he said, right, I want us to have a thought shower. And you've got the title of it, the new products. So what I want to say to you though is, all reins are off. There are no boundaries. You can say anything. There's no such thing as a stupid idea. And he said, I'll start off, and here's my idea: elephants. Told you it was a theme. Elephants. So literally, and I can still remember this to this day, because we all just stopped, looked around the table and thought he'd lost it. So these young, dynamic, great ideas, but now you've just gone and lost it, pal. What are you talking about? She said, I'll explain. There's a famous old story. And he proceeded to relay it. So I'll shorten it as much as I can. Across Russia, which is obviously in the headlines at this minute, as we know, there are various pipelines and some key pipelines. And in the winter, they suffer frost showers, severe frost storms. The pipeline is above ground, because if you bury it, the pressures of freeze thaw will crack the pipeline. So it's above ground, which is okay for most of the part. Mostly inaccessible ground, mostly place that you wouldn't go to, and you don't need to. But occasionally it passes under power lines and trees. And when it does, then they're the places where spillages occur, because when they get an ice storm, the ice builds up on the power line or the trees, the branches that overlie the pipeline to a certain depth, weight, until the branch or the wire can't hold it and it drops off. and it breaks into the pipeline. There's a huge spillage, environmental and cost, massive. And then they've got to repair it in the middle of nowhere. So they were sitting around the table one day and they were saying, what can we do about it? How can we fix this problem? And they were just saying, oh, this is, we need to think of something really different, radically different, because, we haven't been able to fix this for, 10, 20, 30 years. What could we do? So they were coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas and silly ideas and just really going creative, really going into what the heck could we do? And one guy says, okay, elephants. Another guy says, what are you talking about, elephants? Elephants? Don't be silly. How could they help us? I don't know. Just thought I'd say it. So elephants. Well, and then another guy said, well, hang on. There's no elephants there. Where the elephants are in circuses or zoos or other countries. And anyway, how would we get them there? There's no roads. There's no rail. He said, well, we could get a multi-track vehicle maybe. And that would be days traveling. And the elephant would probably be sick. Anyway, my goodness me. No chance we could get an elephant there. And then somebody was listening to this and they said, well, what about a helicopter? I saw a film once where they strapped a helicopter underneath this huge helicopter and just took it to wherever it's going to go. And so they started saying, yeah, we could do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a sensible idea. We could get the elephants there. Said, well, how's that going to help us though? We've got an elephant to the power lines and the trees and stuff, but how's that going to help us? They said, I don't know. Maybe we can get the elephant to headbutt, and then it will shake the thing so much that it breaks the ice off before it reaches the critical mass, and therefore it won't break the pipe. So that's a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant idea, but in reality, would we be able to do that? Isn't that cruelty to elephants? And one person was just sitting back, just listening to this, and then leaned forward and said, helicopters interest me because they produce a downdraft. So what happens if we hover a helicopter over the pipelines and the branches at certain times in between the storms? Will that knock the ice off? And to this day, that's a system that's used. So after certain ice storms, after certain build-ups, they still fly helicopters over the places where they're known to bisect the pipeline. The downdraft knocks the ice off. It crashes harmlessly on the floor or on the pipeline without cracking it. So all that came from elephants. And that's the thing about thinking creatively, innovatively, differently. If we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always got. If we find out more about ourselves, become more self-aware, try different things, develop different strategies, try different techniques, there's a chance that we can develop our own elephant. So, true story as well, true story. So, I'm going to finish off with another person, another great thinker of our time, a person called Edward de Bono. Edward de Bono. And this is a really fascinating technique, and it's great for teams. So if we're on our own, that's one thing. Now you can do this on your own. You can adapt this because you can wear the different hats. What it does is it enables you to think differently, and that's the power of it. Let me just check. I'm just quickly checking. Yeah, that's okay. It enables you to think differently. However, if you're able to work in a team, if you've got a panel of several people, especially in different parts of a company or across different companies, then we are going to be able to engage some real different thinkers and get some real different views. How do we use this 6 thinking hats? And just let me put a yes or a no, please. If you put yes on, if you've used this before or if you've come across it. If you have come across it, if you have used it, just give me your experience, helpful or not, of it, please, on the Q&A. Thank you for the people that are answering so far. I'm going to play a video just explaining it. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long, 4.5 minutes. So then we'll just have a wee chat. Nikki, helpful when you remember to use it. Gosh, isn't that the truth for so many different things? Yeah, Lean Six Sigma, green belt, black belt, absolutely, yes. Yeah, when it comes to Lean and Six Sigma, depending on the course that you're doing, yeah, De Bono, Six Thinking Hats, fantastic. Not seen before, brilliant. Okay, good. So there's quite a few people saying no. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, and this will give you a short, it's about 4.5 minutes, so it's a longer video than I usually like to show, because that is quite long for when we're sitting down, especially coming towards the end of the session. However, we'll watch this, then we'll finish off having a chat about it, and that'll give us some time for Q&A, and then we're all finished for just before 11 o'clock. So here we go with the video. Just give me a quick yes on the Q&A to let me know you can hear the audio, please.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Big Ideas Growing Minds. We are so happy you are here. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Today's big idea comes from Edward de Bono and his international best-selling book, Six Thinking Hats. Thinking is the ultimate human resource. In this book, Edward de Bono puts forward a simple process that allows a thinker or a group of thinkers to separate emotions from logic, creativity from information, and allow room for both the positive and the negative. It is called Six Thinking Hats. The process uses parallel thinking, which can be explained like this. Imagine a beautiful country house. One person is standing in front of the house, one is standing behind. Two other people are standing on each side of the house. All four have different views. All four are arguing that the view they are seeing is the correct view of the house. Now the group rejoins at the front of the house and everyone sees the same. They might still disagree if the house is orange or coral, but they are all looking in the same direction and the subject is fully explored. Parallel thinking ensures that everyone is heard and every opinion valued equally. It is not about arguing or trying to win, but about exploring every aspect. The six thinking hats each has an easy-to-remember color, and each represents a certain type of thinking. Let's explore them one at a time. The white hat is all about information and is usually used at the beginning of a thinking session. During white hat thinking, everyone focuses objectively, directly, and exclusively on information. What information do we have? What information do we need, and how will we obtain it? What questions need to be asked? The information can range from hard checkable facts to soft information like opinions and feelings. However, be aware that if you express your own feelings, this is red hat. So here it is only suitable to report on opinions and feelings of other people. The red hat legitimizes feelings as an important part of thinking. It gives you an opportunity to express your feelings, emotions, and intuition without any need to explain or justify them. Feelings come in many forms. I love it. I don't like it. I'm worried about. I feel uncertain. Depending on which culture a thinker comes from, the expression of feelings can vary a great deal. A thinker from Japan might say, I feel uncertain, while an American will say, I hate this idea, when trying to express the same feelings. There is no need to explain or justify your feelings. Simply express them as they exist at this particular moment in time. The black hat is the hat for being cautious and careful. It stops us from doing things that are illegal, dangerous, unprofitable, polluting, and so on. It is the hat of survival. In order to survive, we need to know what to avoid and what's not going to work, and what is not good for us. Black hat thinking points out if an idea is contradictory or inconsistent, and if it does not match our resources, values, strategy, and so forth. The yellow hat. Think of sunshine. Think of optimism. Under the yellow hat, a thinker deliberately sets out to find whatever benefits that may derive from the suggested idea or plan. Yellow hat thinking is positive and constructive, and under it, we look for the upside and search for benefits. It covers all positive thinking, ranging from the logical and practical at one end to dreams and visions at the other end. The green hat is the energy hat under which new ideas are put forward. Here, options and alternative solutions are laid out. Under the green hat, we seek to modify and improve. Now is the time to go beyond the known, the obvious, and the satisfactory. Everyone is expected to make a creative effort and put forward possibilities. The blue hat is for thinking about thinking. It functions similarly as a conductor of an orchestra guiding the musicians. Using the blue hat at the beginning of a thinking session defines the situation. It lays out what needs to be achieved and defines the agenda and purpose of the session. Typically, the blue hat is worn by the facilitator, chairperson, or leader, and is a permanent role. However, anyone taking part in the thinking session is free to offer blue hat comments and suggestions along the way. It is the responsibility of the person wearing the blue hat to summarize, create overviews, and draw conclusions. The blue hat should always be used both at the beginning and at the end of a thinking session. Benefits of the 6 hats method. The biggest enemy of thinking is complexity, since it leads to confusion. When thinking is clear and simple, it becomes more enjoyable and effective. The 6 hats concept is simple to understand and easy to use. It allows thinkers to deal with one thing at a time, for everyone to get heard and for every aspect to get investigated. And there you have it, 6 Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. We hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a like.
And there we go. So I'll just stop the share just briefly. Okay. So, don't know about you, but in my experience, when I've had 6 people together, or 5 other people and me, trying to reach a consensus or trying to talk, then we've got hierarchy, we've got politics, we've got feelings, we've got lateral thinkers, we've got creative thinkers, we've got logical thinkers. Oh my goodness. We've got a mix of people. We've got people that want to be heard, people that want to shout, people that don't want to shout. We've got introverts, we've got extroverts. We've got such a mixture of people that having a session for just 40 minutes turns into 3 hours very easily. So the 6 thinking hats is, I have found where we used it, and we used it in one place. Where did we use it? Halifax Bank of Scotland, HBOS. So we used it as once a month, we'd come together as a team, and what one person would be assigned or would volunteer. That's where it was built to, so that people could actually get a live problem to solve, because it was so valuable. But basically you get 6 people or 16 people in the room, or it can be you just wearing different hats. And you work through this process. And because you are separating everything out, therefore, everybody gets a chance to speak, perceive, act, think about in their own specific way, but also it gives them a chance to see your way and other people's ways of thinking. So it's a really creative, but really structured, innovative way of thinking, and certainly problem solving. What do you think, just very quickly, what do you think about pulling the white rabbit out of the hat? Yeah, out of the white hat, possibly. So yes, what do you think about that? What do you think about the 6 thinking hats? Is that a technique that could be useful, especially for people that have never come across it before? And again, there's a few books, several books on it, loads of good stuff on search engines, whichever search engine you use. Could this be useful for you? Could this be useful for your teams or panels? Excellent, Ian. Good to hear. Great, Li Feng, thank you. Good. Okay, Charles, absolutely fine. And that's the thing, if we answer no, don't do it. Don't do it. If you don't want to, no, you don't have to. That's the whole point of today, and that's brilliant to hear. And thanks for making that decision. And that's what today is about. Is it easier to use families of hats so people know where they are? Right. Yes, you can, Andrea. That's a really, really incisive question. If you go on to research about it, then for particular types of problems, then there are different timings of the hats to be used. So you might start off with this hat, then move to that hat, then move to that hat. For another particular type of problem, it might be changed. You might start off with this hat or that hat or another hat. So it does, you have to look into it more. I mean, this 6 thinking hats is like a 3-hour session anyway on its own. So do look into it. It is fascinating. What we found worked as well is actually having, we did it in 2 ways. The first time we tried it, we did it with 6 chairs out front for our team, so that people who sat in those chairs actually sat in those chairs. If you're on your own, what you can do is have 6 chairs set out just in your dining room, and just sit 6 chairs out there with the colours on. And then you can, that's where you think a certain way, and you change the way that you think, or the people that are populating those chairs think in that particular way. So it works with any number of people, and it can be very creative. Let's just have a quick look. John, excellent. Difficult thing to define if something is a fact or not. Absolutely. Example fact. Yeah, okay. So Alex has just made a very good example about Brexit, which I'm not going to read out because that will spark people's ideas. But yeah, absolutely, Alex, I'm with you. John, thank you. It reminds me a bit of red teaming, though obviously the hats have more dimensions. Or can people move hats as the discussion develops? Right, so the idea is that people stay in hats. And this again, Andrea, so you've made me think of something else. So this is great as a progression tool. This is great as a problem-solving technique, as an innovative way. It's a great way for people to see different people's perspectives. So if you have like standards committees where we simply don't have the luxury of time to use these kinds of tools, don't use them. Don't use them. However, on one occasion, if you can get, and this can be done in 30 minutes, I promise you this can be done in 30 minutes. Ideally, you want 1 hour, 45 minutes to an hour, but it can be done in 30 minutes. And it does require the buy-in of people. And people might moan about, oh, I've got to get up and sit here and do all that human thing of participation. And we don't like that. But that's the uncomfortable thing. When people are uncomfortable, that's when we move into this stretch zone, and that's where we can discover new things, get new results. Again, if we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we've always got. So if you do ever have a chance to do this, give it a go. You need to make sure people respect the hats, Ian, absolutely. So the person that's running that, the white hat, I think it is, the person has to police it and make sure that the logic does not disappear into thinking, does not disappear into feeling. So yeah, it's got to be policed. But also the thing about this is, the more that you do it, the more it becomes drilled into the people, the team, whoever you've got using it. So going back to Andrea's point, you can make it very easy for people, and for people who are more emotion-based, feeling-based, which is me. I'm a creative, I'm an emotive person, then you can get them sat in the particular seat that suits them. For a more logical thinker, you can get them sat in the seat that suits them. And as people get used to it, then you can get them to swap around. And so somebody, Sanchez said it can be used for conflict management during problem-solving sessions. Absolutely, because what it can do is when you sit in somebody else's seat, you get to see through their eyes. So again, this is about discovery, not just of self, but of people around us. with Zoom meetings, they will switch off. That's if we haven't facilitated it, if they don't buy into it. And that's the same for anything. This is just a technique. So use it or not. If you don't use it, you'll never know what it could do. It might do nothing. It might not work for the people, the problem, or anything else that you're at now. For a different problem, for different people, it could work. It's around now. Why? Because it does work. It has worked. It will work again. So facilitation is very, very important. Again, it's just this, it's the allowability of certain factors such as time. Standardization process does not allow this. It's based on technical comments and discussion for traceability reasons. There you go. So yeah, Alex, totally accept what you're saying. No, and that's the reason for I'm not focusing on just one thing. This is not just about 6 thinking hats. It's about everything that we've talked about today. It is about looking at things in a different way. And that's the whole point. The whole point of today is just to think about, how can I do something differently? How can I view something differently? These are some strategies and techniques that I could use, but what are others? Go away, find out, do your homework. If you leave here and just do what you've always done, that's not down to me, that's down to you. So that's absolutely fine. There's no judgment. Nobody has to do anything different. The only thing about today is just potential. And that's a beautiful thing. That's what I love about it. Potential for change and for taking control of the change that we can instigate. Really controlled conflict, which is fantastic. Disruption, positive disruption. So I'm a big fan of positive disruption. I want you to come to me and tell me that I'm doing things wrong or it can be done better, because I want to improve. I want progression. I don't want perfection. I don't want to believe there is perfection. Does that make sense? And I think that gets us to the close of play today. We've got nearer the 11 o'clock than I thought we would do. Does anybody have any? But we've been dealing with lots of great questions. Thank you so much for your feedback. I accept everything that's been said. Absolutely everything. Thank you for your challenges. Really positive. That's exactly what we need to see in sessions like this. It's brilliant that you're thinking. That's all I could ask. It's brilliant that you're challenging. It's brilliant that you're agreeing, disagreeing. It's brilliant that you're thinking of new things, or how could I do something, or where it could be of value. If you try something new, today has been an absolute success, and that's fantastic. So if you've got any questions, please put them in very quickly. If not, okay, yeah, okay, I've read that, Ian. Thank you very much for that. Okay, yeah, I get you. Thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Francis, thank you. Yeah, I've read that as well. Thank you. You are free to go. Thank you so much. I'm doing another session in 15 minutes. If you're there, it'd be great to see you. If you're at another one, have a fantastic day. Have a great week, and I'll see you all again. Thank you very much.